Welcome to the podcast that must not be named. We are here reading the penultimate chapter of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Luke.
And we are going to be discussing chapter 16.
Through the Trapdoor.
This chapter was 26 pages long and comprises 8.41% of the book. Luke, take us away on the executive summary.
The Hogwarts students stressfully finish up all their final exams for the year and proceed to start trying to relax while waiting for the results. Down by the lake, where the Weasley twins and Lee Jordan are tickling the giant squid, Harry is suspicious of the dragon egg Hagrid received. After a new interrogation, Hagrid reveals that he again can't keep a secret and told Snape dragon egg dealer how to get past Fluffy. The trio sprints up to the castle to go see Dumbledore, only to find he had just left. Our heroes decide to go through the trapdoor after Snape that night. After getting past Neville and Peeves, we get to the third floor corridor to try to put Fluffy to sleep. Harry takes the lead and jumps through the door, followed quickly by Ron and then Hermione. They detangle themselves from a deadly constrictor plant and make their way into a large room where Harry catches a winged key from a broomstick. Passing through the locked door, they encounter an animated chess set, which Ron takes full charge in winning the match while sacrificing himself. Harry and Hermione move on to see a knocked-out troll and make their way to Snape's logic puzzle, which Hermione clevers her way through. Hermione leaves to go back and retrieve Ron to send Dumbledore a message, while Harry goes through the fire to find himself face-to-face with who?
A few new character introductions in this chapter. We learned about Elfric the Eager from our History of Magic class, and we were introduced to the giant squid.
A true meeting. Did we not hear about the giant squid?
I don't know if we've heard about the giant squid, but we definitely saw the giant squid.
Yeah.
He exists.
Yep.
He is no longer imaginary.
Yeah. Some of the locations that were introduced, even in the second to last chapter, we have new locations
which
being
is
introduced.
Nice.
Were the Hog's Head, which is the pub down in the village.
Yes.
And also an area of the castle that we haven't been before, through the trapdoor to somewhere.
Somewhere very strange.
Well below the castle.
Apparently.
Some magicabulary that we come across in this chapter include the Forgetfulness Potion.
We also have the 1637 Werewolf Code of Conduct.
A new spell, the Petrificus Totalis, which is the full body bind.
Poor Neville.
Poor Neville. Oops.
And we come across the Devil's Snare, the entangling plant.
For my in-depth analysis, J.K. does a really good job of creating more than one thing for Harry and our trio to be afraid of while trying to sneak through the castle. Even just that one, there's like 2 lines, and it's from when they leave the common room to get to Fluffy. She does a good job at creating still an off-confident feel.
It was definitely a challenge just to even get to Fluffy.
Right.
You can feel the tension.
The tension was tight. Mm-hmm. And they had to get through Neville, which they got through, but it was tough, especially because there's emotional friendship involved as well. So that's like a different version of everything else that we're about to see. And there's the threat of Filch. There's the threat of Snape out and about.
Right.
There's the threat of Mrs. Norris and Peeves. And there's just a lot going on that they have to be aware of. They get through it just fine, but it was very well described, I thought.
I agree.
An eerie tension.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, when Harry and his cohorts, after they talk to Hagrid and they're trying to get a hold of Dumbledore, they run into McGonagall first, who says that Dumbledore left. Mm-hmm. And then as they're talking post-McGonagall conversation, Snape walks up and warns Harry. He says, "Be warned, Potter. Any more nighttime wandering, and I will personally make sure you are expelled. Good day to you." It's very polite of Snape. He maintains his pleasantries. I just thought that was worth noting.
I'm just laughing because Harry is so bound and determined to believe that Snape hates him, and yet he's wishing him a good day.
He's nothing but polite.
See?
He's also a total jerk right before that, but he's nothing but polite.
This does go back to what we were discussing before about Snape being able to read minds. Like, all of a sudden, you're just going to randomly comment about nighttime warnings? No, you saw that picture. You saw something was coming.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Hagrid again.
Oh, Hagrid.
He says, and then I can't remember too well, because he kept buying me drinks. Hagrid for role model of the year.
And kids, this is why you shouldn't drink too much or at all.
Too much. I'll stand up for the good name of
I'm going to go with if you're under
drink.
21. Not at all.
Kids don't drink at all.
Adults don't drink too much.
Adults don't drink too much. That's our advice.
Well, because it goes with my thought about Hagrid. And I don't want to get too far into it because we've done our Hagrid. Right. I just was reading it, and my only comment was, seriously, Hagrid has a real keeping his mouth shut problem. He can't.
Right.
So that's a problem.
Yeah. It's
maybe he'll
pretty
outgrow
consistent.
It.
Yeah. He needs to keep growing in any dimension.
Maybe not physically.
He's already too big to be allowed. So
yes.
So I think it's funny when Harry decides that the dragon egg dealer was up to more than just having a card game with Hagrid and needs to go talk to Hagrid about it. That he runs off to go to Hagrid's, and Ron, catches up to him. And Harry says, "I've just thought of something," said Harry. He had turned white. "We've got to go and see Hagrid now." "Why?" panted Hermione, hurrying to keep up. It's funny that that JK makes Hermione so unathletic.
I don't think it's funny.
I think it's hilarious.
I don't think it's funny.
And I think it's going to keep coming up because why is she the one that's panting and hurrying to keep up? Because she's me and we don't run. She's calling her out as being a total nerd.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Hermione has a lot of great qualities. Athleticism is not one of them.
It's not on the top of the list, for
it's
sure.
not. She's never going to make a Quidditch team, even if she wanted to.
No.
Not going to happen.
I just think that's kind of funny.
Yes.
That she slipped. It's just that one little line, but it was just funny to slip in. And since as I did the executive summary, I don't have a ton of notes.
Right.
But Harry, again, is lead commander in all things action.
Yes.
And in this, it's, we're going, I'm doing this, before he even realizes that they're going to go with him, that that Hermione and Ron are going to go with him. He's the one that decides to jump into the trapdoor hole first, not having any idea what's below it. He's the one that sprints across the winged room, the winged key room. It's just, again, Harry, let somebody else do something. Come on, start delegating here.
He needs an action figure.
Yeah, he G.I. Harry.
Great British hero. Wait, that's not right.
So that's all I had. What kind of in-depth notes did you have for this chapter?
All right. So at the beginning of the chapter, they comment how there was no doubt that Fluffy was still alive and well in the third floor corridor. Prove it. It just says that he is, not that they've walked by to check or just that he's alive and well. How do they know? It
was earlier in the book that they said that they would walk up and listen to the door and hear the grumbling, right? I think that was a couple chapters ago.
It was
when they were also checking up on Quirrell,
right?
So that was like 3 or so chapters ago.
Yes, to making sure that he, trying to be nicer to Quirrell
and checking on that third floor corridor door.
Yes,
door.
But it's been months. You're still doing that? I don't know. It just felt very like, trust me, it's okay. How do you know it's okay? It just is.
Yeah, because I said it is.
Right. It's okay because it's okay.
It's okay because it is.
Yep. Great, thanks. And then as they're taking their quills, their tests, they are all given quills that have an anti-cheating spell. In theory, shouldn't that be standard for every quill they use in school, ever? Kind of like you have to have a number 2 pencil all the time. They don't make and sell pencils that aren't number 2. Why would you produce quills that aren't anti-cheating when you could just have all of them be anti-cheating?
Right. I think this comes back to, again, something we were talking about, the difference between a magical object and something that is bewitched or, a charm put on an object. Maybe these are normal quills that are just charmed to have an anti-cheating spell on them.
But here's my point. It's 1991 in this timeline of the story, nobody's producing quills anymore for general Muggle consumption. They're only being made for wizard use.
Right.
Probably the majority of that being happening in schools.
Mhm.
Wouldn't you just put that on there?
I guess my point is maybe the way the magic works on that is it maybe that spell isn't conducive to being permanent.
Okay.
It
Maybe the teachers do it that day.
right, kind of like handing out the scantrons, and then you
Okay.
you put a spell on all the quills in the
Right.
room. I don't know.
All right. So going back to the exams, I really like that they had to remember how to make a forgetfulness potion. That was clever.
Yep.
Well done.
Remember how to forget.
Yep, that was funny.
Yep.
As they decide to go after Voldemort, I can't decide which was better. Harry, like you said, sort of that action jumping into, we have to stop Voldemort, and he rants about it. Or that Ron and Hermione just matter of fact were like, yeah, we're coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're coming.
Why are you even
and-
second guessing this?
And we're going to take care of that by coming.
Right. And Hermione's like, how would you get past it without me?
Right. Which is true. It's so
funny.
bad. Like, he really
It's so
couldn't.
funny.
Or even Ron with this will go to my next one. It's a really good thing. Ron's good at chess. Oh, that's why Ron was good at chess. Nice plant there, too.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad Ron was useful in
Yeah.
that. That was great. But I do think, like, this is really one of the first times that we truly, truly see just how good of friends Ron and Hermione are for Harry. Because Harry is an action, I'm going to jump in and go. And they're right there with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't even, like, he doesn't ask, and he doesn't expect, and he doesn't, because he's so used to being alone for so many years that,
Right.
like,
It's hard to start realizing there's other people on your team
Yes.
when you've been your whole team for so long.
And I think it says a lot about the character of both of them.
That they also realize that, you know, because
Yes.
they don't like put him down for feeling that way.
No.
They're more of like, we get it, but we're
Yeah,
going.
But we're going, and that's going to take
Yeah.
care of that.
And we
so
realize
stop.
you don't realize that we're planning on doing
Right.
that. Like, we get that.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Like, it's cool.
Yep. Yep. It's good. We're good.
It's cool.
Yep. All right. So the trapdoor is on the 3rd floor of a very tall school. It's easy enough to jump down and land on this semi-cushy devil's snare without injury. How do they end up being miles under the school then from an easy jump from a 3rd floor?
Yeah.
Explain the math to me.
Yeah, you can't.
Okay.
It's magic. It's a portal.
Ah, the special magic explanation. I see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a classic.
Like, is it a portal? Is it an actual straight down jump, or is it more like a slide? Is it like you jump and you land on the devil's snare and you get out because fire, which we'll get to, and then, like, do they then walk sloped downward, like consistently moving in a downward angle? I don't know. It just kind of.
So it says, and Harry let go. Cold, damp air rushed past him as he fell down, 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 and flump. So, I mean, I guess down, 3 downs could be a mile or so.
That's a long fall.
Yeah, and in my notes that I missed, apparently, it's Hermione that says, we must be miles under the school. And, yeah, miles? Really? And just landing on a plant is sufficient to catch you?
And, like
it's one thing for, like, the distance that you've traveled. It's another thing, one, if we're going to get technical, you're going to hit terminal velocity, and that's fine, whatever.
right.
But a plant is not going to save it. Like, the only way you're going to survive a fall from that amount of height for miles below the school
right.
is if you land on a very inclined steep slope that gradually tapers off.
Or you
and
have
flattens
something
out.
that, like a parachute, that's creating resistance.
Right. Any free fall without a parachute.
Yes.
That's like the only way that you
Yes.
can survive it. And yeah, it's just going to have to be magic. I don't know. There's no
Or
logic.
maybe Ron should have said the line that we are miles under the school, because Ron is one who
That's what's
would
throwing
be
it off,
more exaggerating.
Right.
Hermione
or not
doesn't
have any.
disagree.
Or Harry could just, I mean, he's been dumb before. He's
Yes.
just not understood
I
things.
agree.
But Hermione, the one saying we must be miles under the school, definitely throws it
Uh-huh.
all off.
Yes.
So maybe
will
she's just not
say
good at geometry.
It's
Or
highly unlikely.
cartography.
It's unlikely. Let me just say that the scene where they land on the plant and Hermione is stressed out and can't figure out how to stop the plant, and then she realizes it's because it needs heat and it needs fire, but she can't find fire, and they're like, are you kidding? You have been making fire. Like, it is one of my favorite scenes in the whole book, and
Yeah.
has been.
Yeah,
since I first
that's one
read
that
it.
definitely stuck with me.
Mhm.
The "Are you a witch or not?"
Yes.
Like, that's such
Have
a good
you
line.
gone mad?
Yeah, that's a great one.
So I appreciate that, because while Hermione is so smart and so good, she does have some flaws, and she has a hard time sort of keeping her cool, and that's what Harry is for.
Right, because that is his strength.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
in this case, Ron too.
True.
I mean,
Also true.
well, no, he was the one struggling, right? He doesn't
But
keep his
he's
cool.
the one who says, "Are you a witch or not?"
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it's a very funny scene. I'm gonna pull it up here and read it, I think, because it's just that good. Hermione had managed to free herself before the plant got a firm grip on her. Now she watched in horror as the two boys fought to pull the plant off them, but the more they strained against it, the tighter and faster the plant wound around them. "Stop moving," Hermione ordered them. "I know what this is. It's Devil's Snare." "Oh, I'm so glad we know what it's called. That's a great help," snarled Ron, leaning back, trying to stop the plant from curling around his neck. "Shut up! I'm trying to remember how to kill it," said Hermione. "Well, hurry up! I can't breathe!" Harry gasped, wrestling with it as it curled around his chest. Devil's Snare, Devil's Snare. What did Professor Sprout say? It likes the dark and the damp. "So light a fire!" Harry choked. "Yes, of course, but there's no wood," Hermione cried, wringing her hands. "Have you gone mad?" Ron bellowed. "Are you a witch or not?"
Yeah, great scene.
Awesome scene.
Great scene.
And speaking of some of their other attributes, I do find it very ironic that Harry has a knack for spotting things that other people didn't. And that's why he's the youngest seeker in a century. But he wears glasses for his terrible eyesight. I just find that very ironic. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just like a juxtaposition of ideas.
Yeah, I definitely never thought about it that way. Maybe I didn't grow up wearing glasses, so I never thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
I wear glasses now for some things, but I don't know.
Oh, I wear glasses all the time. And it's like, and because I wear contacts now, I don't really notice the difference. But wearing glasses, it is hard sometimes to focus your eyes, especially like out of the corner of your eye when you're, you know. And,
yeah, I mean, I have mine on right now. I can see
Right.
what you're saying. I actually
I just think
forget
it's funny
that I'm
that
wearing
that's an
them
attribute
sometimes.
for him of being able to see when he can't.
Yeah, but maybe he knows that, so he's a little more apt to paying attention to things.
Yeah. And maybe it's less about physically seeing and more about like mentally observant.
I think that's exactly what it is.
I really, really, really like the utter annihilation of the chess pieces.
I wish we could have that.
That would be awesome.
That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Literally play for keeps.
Right. But you can only play once.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you gotta be
That's
good.
it. I am not good at chess.
You gotta be good.
Yeah. Here's what I find interesting, though. So somebody had played before them to get through. Where are all those broken pieces?
Right. So we know that Harry borrows chess pieces earlier. I'm pretty sure they all reconfigure themselves once the match is over.
Okay.
So, and I think even the mini sets do that. I'm sure this one does it as well.
Okay.
We don't see it, but I'd be interested on when Hermione runs back through if they were already reset, or if it doesn't because Ron's still in there. Like, you know, if the room has to be like cleared out in this case, when there's nobody living in there, and then they go back. So I don't know.
Yes.
It's interesting. But yeah, I've definitely thought about that like earlier on, because yeah, I mean, the Weasleys aren't affording a bunch of different chess sets.
No.
I mean, come on, let's be honest on that. So,
but I didn't get the impression with those smaller chess sets that they were quite the bashing.
I don't know. I guess I always thought they did.
Oh, I didn't.
I guess it's more they just like knock each other off the board, not necessarily.
That's what I assumed.
Not necessarily destroying,
as opposed to yes.
I don't know. I guess after this scene, I always retroactively thought of it this way.
See, I always thought of this as something special because it was a way
life
to
or death.
Yes, because if you didn't do it right, then you didn't make it across.
Yeah.
So
okay, that's fair.
So Snape's trap, if you will. I love logic puzzles. I'm that person who buys logic puzzle books and does them in her free time. Like, that's just what I do. I refuse to spend the time figuring out this logic puzzle. And that was from the moment I read this book. When I read books for the first time, I rush through. I can get a book done in a few hours. You know, I read very, very quickly. And these are the kinds of things that I look at. I'm like, I could stop reading and solve that. But I so desperately need to know what's coming next that I'm not going to solve it. I'm just going to assume that Hermione's going to take care of it for me. Well, I've read this book at least once a year since the year of 2000. So, 16, 17 times, whatever. I still have yet to sit down and actually see if she's right. I haven't done it.
Do you want to know?
Yes.
You can't know. we're not given enough information.
Well, that's
There's not enough information because one of the key clues
Uh-huh.
is dependent on the sizes of the bottles.
Oh, we don't see them.
And we don't get any descriptions
Got
of
it.
where they are in
Okay.
relation to each other. The other ones, if we had,
You need
what
a
it looked,
picture.
we need a picture.
Got it.
Or her to describe which ones are in line. And there's no way you can, I mean, it's tougher to do that narratively.
Yes. Then I'm really, really thankful that I've just always let Hermione do it.
Yeah. And I think that's the idea, is because if you actually sit down, you can get close, like you can start deducing through it, but you're still missing
Got it.
the third out of 4 elements.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's her point, is she doesn't want you to spend time on that. She wants you to trust in Hermione and get to the,
Oh, that was well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So my last thought is just, the cliffhanger. You go through the door and you don't know who's there.
Yeah.
It's just like amazing.
Yeah.
And you're done. And this is why I stay up reading until 4 or 5 in the morning,
Right.
because penultimate
just
chapters
bleeds into the
end
next.
like this. Because
and most every other chapter in this book has come to some kind of conclusion.
Yes.
Or, and Harry went to bed. Or Harry went for the next month or whatever.
And then he rolled over and forgot the dream.
Right. And then the next chapter starts with, and then 4 weeks passed.
Right.
It's a new season.
But this one, the very last line was, there was already someone there, but it wasn't Snape. It wasn't even Voldemort.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's it. That's all you get. I'm sorry, I'm only going to read 1 chapter tonight. Let me put the book. No, it's just not an option. You have to read at least the next 2 sentences in chapter 17. You can't, can anybody physically stop at that moment if you're that invested in the book and say, okay, I'm done with my chapter? Really? You've put this much work into it and you can't know? You're okay with waiting?
Mm-hmm.
I can't. It's impossible. All right, Luke, so take us into your 5 burning questions.
So, my first question comes from this line in the chapter. Well, Harry, you take the place of that bishop, and Hermione, you go there instead of that castle. What about you? I'm going to be a knight, said Ron. Could Ron just have played? Did the other 2 have to be on the board?
I don't know if it says that bystanders could pass.
I don't know. I mean, I just...
They just assume they all have to.
Right.
But I see your point.
If he could just have been a one piece, he probably could have won quicker than trying to keep those 3 specific pieces without getting hurt.
Right.
I think if he had
2
more pieces to play with, because he was probably using them very sparingly.
But at the same time, it's very possible he would have ended up needing to hurt himself. And if he got hurt, then
they would have to finish it.
Then they wouldn't be allowed because they weren't playing. Whereas because
they
were...
just leave and come back.
and it resets and it's fine.
They drag his lifeless body out of the room.
I think in order to pass, you have to be playing.
Yeah, I think that's understood.
Or they're 11 and 12 and don't know any better.
Yeah, but I think it could also go into Harry's having to be involved, and he wouldn't have been okay with standing on the side and letting Ron take the only risk. I don't think
Hermione is either. Hermione is more of I know you're better at chess than me, but I'm very logical and I'm pretty bright and I might be able to figure something out, so I'm going to help.
Why did they automatically think that they had to become pieces? Why couldn't they just dictate Knight? Because he was doing that from his space anyway.
I don't know. That's a good
why
question.
couldn't they just dictate?
I wonder if there was unseen rules posted on the door. Excuse me, in order for you to get across, you have to play.
That's what it is.
Yes.
We missed that one.
It's like the size of the bottles.
Right.
Got it.
Okay. Were the 2 potions that Hermione and Harry drank the same exact potion? And similar to the chess set, do they automatically refill after the users leave the room? Because whenever the person who's in the next room went through, all the bottles were full when we got there.
True.
So they have to refill automatically, right?
One would assume.
And whenever they drank the potions, they both said that it was icy cold, and they both allowed them to pass through fires, even though they were different color fires, I believe.
Mm-hmm. One was purple, one was black.
One was black.
I got the impression that they weren't the same potion, specifically because you have to have a different kind of potion to get through the different kinds of fires.
I see that.
Yes.
I guess my point is, if they were the same, the smaller bottle only allows basically one person to move forward.
Right.
If you got to that room with a small group, you could all retreat back with because it was the largest bottle
True.
that had the one that Hermione went
And
through.
one at a time go in and drink if it refills.
Right.
You could. I think so.
Okay. I just thought that was like, I don't know, it was like the exact same description for the sensation at least.
I think the sensation, yes, but I think if you had drank the purple one and try to go through the black,
right,
it wouldn't have worked.
So maybe the little one is like the same with like a little bit extra something.
Well,
like
it's
some
almost
kind of
like,
differential.
think about the fire that Hermione creates on her own. She creates a blue fire. That's a very specific color because it's a very specific kind of fire.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that the purple fire is a different kind of fire than the black fire. So even though the sensation to get through fire is the same, the chemical makeup of each fire is different. Therefore, the way to prevent yourself from getting hurt by either of those is different. Even though at the end of the day, you're going to be protected from fire, you have to be protected from different kinds of fire using different kinds of potions.
So that also goes into if you drank the small bottle, you wouldn't be able to go back.
No.
Okay.
No.
And that's the key
Yes.
that I was looking for.
No.
Okay. And so the black fire is the one that goes towards the stone. Purple fire goes back.
Yes.
So black being ominous
and scary,
and purple being more of a retreat-ish color, I guess. In this case, I don't know.
It should have been white.
Just comparatively.
Should have been white.
Yeah.
Surrender.
Yeah. Right. I can't do it.
I give up. I've made it this far.
That or you already got the stone and you're on your way back. So
Also
you're,
true.
You're a king.
You got to get out.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
I don't know. Just thought it was interesting.
All right.
Why can't they just listen to McGonagall and wait for Dumbledore? Why can't they just wait?
Well, I mean, the adult in me is like, yeah, listen to the grown-ups. But Dumbledore is in London, and they have no idea how long he's going to be there. And and McGonagall doesn't believe them, and there's nobody else that they trust. So, and their worldview is limited because they're 11 and 12, and somebody has to stop him, and Dumbledore's not there. They don't know he's going to come back in a couple hours.
Well, he's going to be back tomorrow.
And by that point, that guy had been down there and could have gotten it. They don't know what's protecting it or stopping it or who, they just know that it's
a big deal. And
it's a big
deal.
They're
the only ones that take it
serious. And they're the only ones who are taking it seriously. They can't trust. They think it's Snape. McGonagall doesn't care. Dumbledore's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Hagrid's Hagrid. So who else do they have, really?
How about the other teachers that Hagrid mentioned were in charge of protecting it? Why can't they go to Flitwick? Why can't they go to Sprout saying, hey, we talked to McGonagall. She kind of gave us the shoulder.
Because McGonagall's the head of their house.
Well, yeah, but sometimes you have to go around authority to get the answers right.
I don't know. Like, if I told...
Don't blindly follow just because it's the person.
No, I think, if one of my students came up to me and said, da-da-da-da-da, and I said this, they're not going to go talk to a second grade teacher.
If they firmly believe enough to put their lives on risk?
I don't think
put their
kids
lives
would
at risk?
do that.
Sure they do.
I don't so.
Come on. Oh, you're saying that
kids out there?
When one parent says no and the kid goes and asks the other parent without prior knowledge, they do that.
But their other parent to them is Dumbledore, not the other teachers.
Right, but in this case,
to
them,
their two official people are Dumbledore and McGonagall. All the rest of the teachers are just
right. One's not available and one isn't listening. There's still a mega problem. They need to go talk to Sprout or Flitwick.
If my kids came and asked me something and I said no and my husband wasn't around, they wouldn't call you up. They wouldn't call up their uncle and be like,
if it was a life or death situation,
I really don't think so.
It's a little different.
I don't know.
It's not like, oh, I can't have an extra Pop-Tart. It's different. It's not like, oh, he told me no. This is something they truly believe in.
I really think this is a question for the listenership.
Fair. We'll put up a poll.
Okay. So, would you have gone and found other adult help when McGonagall turned you down and Dumbledore wasn't available? Or would you have plowed ahead and done it on your own? And you have to explain your reason.
Yep.
Thank you. Let us know.
It's kind of funny that we're taking this stance when I clearly said that Gryffindor is my secondary house, and I'm pulling the such not Gryffindor card right now.
Yeah, I'm so not a Gryffindor.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny.
I'm not. It's okay.
But yeah, so please write in.
Yes.
Why is Hagrid so utterly unreliable? I feel like that's 90% of what we talk about, but it's just so brutally in your face.
I'm hoping it gets better as the books go on.
Yeah.
So I have two thoughts on why he's unreliable. One, because
narrative.
That was it. He's a plot driving force.
Right.
That's the real reason.
That's exactly why.
Yes.
But like the same guy every time. It's
He-
just such a punching bag
Well,
now.
because at the same time, this is also the first book, and you can't have too many characters, and it's hard to manage a lot, and she's already got a lot of characters going on, so you have one guy be the punching bag.
One rebuttal to that is she did the exact opposite of that. She had a lot of people that provided the Snape, Filch, Mrs. Norris, Peeves obstacles. It's different, I know, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's...
I look at that as more like the mousetrap game, where you've got different things to get around, so I'm just
Okay.
going to give you... But as far as delivering information in an oafish kind of way, nah, I got one guy who does that.
Mhm.
Oh, I need somebody to slip information? Hold on, I know, that's going to be Hagrid.
Yeah.
So, my other thought is,
I just think
like-
it's maybe a little too often.
it is a little too often. I'm hoping that it's maybe just Harry and Hermione and Ron. Well, not really Ron, but Harry and Hermione being a little more in tune to some of the things he's letting slip than most kids normally are.
And that's probably the case.
Yeah,
But
Plus-
so what was your second point?
that
I'm sorry.
was
Okay.
was my second point.
It's a good second point.
Thanks.
No, I think you're right though.
Of course I'm right.
They are already primed to. They already know that his buttons can be pushed. They've been doing that.
Right.
I mean,
And
it's not
Hermione is like ridiculously much more intelligent than your average 11, 12-year-old.
than your average Hagrid.
Wait, well, is Hagrid really average at I mean, really, you can't really say he's average at anything. He's either above average or mediocre. There is no average.
Yeah, no, he's not on the trend line. He's not at the top of the bell.
Nope. Okay, I think we need to move on from Hagrid
Okay.
bashing. I'm starting to feel guilty.
Yeah, I am too.
We do love
Sorry,
Hagrid.
My last burning question starts from the quote, I needn't have learned about the 1637 Werewolf Code of Conduct or the uprising of Elfric the Eager. Hermione really regretting learning something? I'm not buying it. That's baloney. She would not, even if it wasn't tested, she's not going to regret having learned
No.
that. Am I taking this the wrong way?
You're taking the wrong way. Okay, so this line can literally be read two different ways, and I mean
Okay.
physically read out loud. I could read it like Ron.
I needn't have learned about the 1637 Werewolf Code of Conduct or the uprising of Elfric the Eager.
Which is how I think you're assuming she's saying it. And that's how Ron would say it, and that's how Hermione would say it. No, Hermione's like,
Oh, I needn't have learned about the 1637 Werewolf Code of Conduct or the uprising of Elfric the Eager. Oh well.
that's the part you're missing, is the oh well, that isn't really there. It's very
Yeah.
much in the deliverance of it.
I think there's even a third one
Hmm.
where it would be more of her just being disappointed that it wasn't on the test.
Oh, yes.
Not
that's
that
also
she
true.
learned it, but
But I
that it
learned
wasn't-
this.
it
Why
wasn't
wasn't
tested.
I? Yes.
like she would
Yes.
be disappointed in the test.
Yes. Wait,
So-
it's one of the two. It's definitely not the I'm disappointed that I spent time learning it. It's
It's one of the other two.
it's a statement of fact of, oh, well, okay,
Like,
so
oh.
these are things I learned and I didn't really need to, but that's cool because I've learned them. Or I learned these and you didn't ask me about them. How dare you not ask me about them?
Yeah. Okay. No, that's
Yep.
fair. And I don't
Yep.
know if I always read it that way, but this time through, maybe we're just like so primed on Ron complaining that I thought of it that way for some reason.
Mm.
And maybe it's like the feel of that scene where Ron's exasperating about being done and like,
Yes.
please stop talking about the exams.
Right.
And then,
Oh my gosh, would you just knock
Yeah.
it off?
no, I think that's fair. That was a good answer.
Yes.
Let's get into our chapter superlatives. What was your favorite line? This one was tough. There's a lot
This
going
one
on.
was
and-
very, very hard. Okay, so I have some runners up.
Okay.
The first one was when they were trying to find out information and they were sending Hermione off to go spy on Snape outside the
Mhm.
the staff room. And why am I here? Why am I doing this? And Ron goes,
It's obvious, said Ron. You can pretend to be waiting for Professor Flitwick, you know.
he puts on a high voice.
Oh, Professor Flitwick, I'm so worried. I think I got question 14B wrong.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I also have a couple runners up.
Mm-hmm.
One of which is Peeves, he said in a hoarse whisper. The Bloody Baron has his own reasons for being invisible.
Yes.
That's Harry taking the situation by the horns again and just being pretty clever on the fly. Like that
Yes,
was
that was
quick,
good.
And I don't know if there was any other way they were getting out of that outside of just being lucky on someone else being
Yes.
involved.
And they've had a couple of close calls with Peeves anyway, so that was a good way to twist it.
Yeah, no, that was very unexpected when I first
Yes.
I did not see him getting out of it that way.
Yes.
Definitely.
So, but my favorite line is, and I've already read this, but it's just that good. It's the scene with the devil's snare where Hermione needs somewhere, that's not dark and damp. And Harry says, oh, well, light a fire. And she says, there's no wood. And Ron goes,
"Have you gone mad?" Ron bellows. "Are you a witch or not?"
Yeah. That's probably Ron's best line of the book.
It really
revisit
might
it, but
be.
That's one of the best lines of the book.
Except for maybe your favorite line.
Yeah.
Which is another great Ronism.
And it's like the next thing he says.
It is the next thing he says.
And so after Ron gets detangled, it goes, "Yeah," said Ron, "and lucky Harry doesn't lose his head in a crisis. There's no wood, honestly."
I know. I think yours might even be better. I think I missed that one on this read through.
It's such a the combination is really the best. Like, are you a witch or not? That always stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
And right, there's no wood, honestly. So that's my favorite line, though.
All right, that's a good one. On to our chapter MVPs. Now, my honorable mention in the chapter MVP is not a person.
I'll allow this.
Okay. This is the first time we really see the partnership and the teamwork
united
happening.
Front.
Yes. And so I'm going to go with the Harry, Ron, Hermione trio. It's really, I know we don't like David Harry, but it's not just Harry. It's really like
it's the combination.
The combination of the three, and even more than Harry, even though this really is a chapter where he shines. Hermione and Ron, the combined forces of the two of them, demanding that they're coming. Ron even says, "Oh, come off it. You don't think we'd let you go alone."
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're coming, and it's not a question, and it's not at all even something they hesitate on. They just are.
Yeah. So the honorable mention is the nebulous relationship. The nebulous, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like
It's really like the amalgamation of all three of them,
right.
With their forces combined.
They are hero trio.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
So for my chapter MVP, kind of goes right along with that, but I'm going to single out Ron in this chapter. I think Hermione does incredible things this chapter.
Yes. But she does incredible things in other chapters too.
And Harry does incredible things in this chapter.
Yes.
That, again, we've seen him do a lot of them before. Ron, I think, stands out in this chapter. Not even considering the chess board. Not even, which is probably his number one contribution. I'm not even considering that in giving it to him. There are two specific points, which we've already kind of talked about, that I want to give him the chapter MVP for. And it is when he and Hermione quickly jump on Harry saying, "We're going with you."
Right.
And his attitude towards Harry right there is just perfect again. The same as what, after Harry had a hard time in Snape's dungeon, he knew exactly how to talk to Harry, better than anybody. Because Hermione still has a hard time getting the know-it-all
relating
tone
to people
out of the voice sometimes, where Ron's just like, "Come on, bro. We're in this together.
We're cool. It's fine."
Yeah, like just trust me on this one. Like, we're going. So that scene, and also getting past Fluffy, Ron decided he was going first.
Oh, yeah.
Harry shakes his head and says, "No, I'm going first." Ron had already decided, "I'm jumping in."
Right.
And didn't even think about it, because Hermione said that she didn't want to, and Ron decided, okay, then I'll do it, because Harry was playing the flute. And it wasn't until Harry kind of, almost big leagued him saying, "No, I'm going first." But, which was fine. I mean, in this case, it was fine. But Ron's commitment to the cause was untouchable right there.
He's also the first one to jump on a broomstick to catch the keys. He's also the one who sacrifices himself. Yeah. He's the only one who does.
Yeah. And I wasn't even considering that.
I know, but
he earned it with those other two alone.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he literally could have given his life, because they saw these getting obliterated.
Right.
He doesn't know if he's gonna survive this. Right. And he just decides this is what it takes. There's more important things. Yep. And
I agree. I think Ron's a good call.
Strongly earned it here.
Yep. That's it for this week's episode. Please join us next week when we finally get to the last chapter, chapter 17.
The Man with Two Faces.
Until then, you can follow us on Twitter at NotNamedPodcast. You can find us online at thepodcastthat.com, or you can email us specifically about your response to our burning question at thepodcastthatmustnotbenamed@gmail.com. Please join us next week. Thanks.